Well, good morning, the internet, and welcome to today's webinar on how to drive conversions from AI traffic. My name is John Kelleher. I'm the Chief Executive here at SpotDev. And today I'm going to be the person that, very unfortunately, I'm going to be the one who leads you through this today. Now, I'm a big believer that these webinars should start on time and that those of you who have turned up on time should be rewarded for doing so. So please feel good about yourself for being here bang on time, and we will crack on now. So, like I say, my name is John Kelleher. I'm the Chief Executive at SpotDev. SpotDev automates your business, builds your website, sets up your HubSpot CRM, and migrates and integrates your data across platforms. With that website hat on, we're going to be talking today about how you drive conversions from AI traffic. To put this into context of why I'm possibly capable of speaking on this topic, yes, I run a technical consultancy. Before that, I was the chief executive of a marketing agency. And before that, perhaps not the most relevant skill, I was a secondary school music teacher. So hopefully this is not going to feel too much like a year 7 assembly, and you're going to get some genuine value out of the next 59 minutes potentially. There we go. So I'm going to phrase today as being about one problem. We're going to acknowledge that there are two solutions to that problem, but we're only going to address one of those solutions today. We will put forward the second solution, but that will be something that we address in next week's webinar. So if you're not already signed up to that, there will be the opportunity to get signed up for next week's webinar. So if this is a problem with two solutions, what is the problem? Well, the problem is hard news, and it might not be the most pleasant thing for you to hear. That is that your website traffic is not coming back. And I'll say this again, your website traffic that maybe used to be glorious isn't coming back. Let's put this into context for you. I'm sure that this chart, if you are constantly looking at your website metrics and your SEO metrics through Google Search Console, etc., is not unfamiliar. So what does this represent? Well, the blue line shows clicks within a search engine, and the purple, I'm going to go with purple, the purple line shows impressions in search. And you can see this perplexing combination. The impressions are going up, but the clicks are going down. What does that mean? It means you're showing up in search more often than you used to, but you're getting less traffic from those impressions. You can see here, this is from the folks over at Ahrefs, the SEO software that you can use for auditing your site. But this is a trend that at SpotDev we are hearing again and again is true. If you are trying to get traffic from your website, then you've got to start thinking about it differently, because that search traffic you used to depend on has disappeared. Which begs the question, why has that search traffic disappeared? Well, first of all, AI overviews are stealing your traffic. This isn't completely new. This shouldn't be completely unfamiliar to you. Google, for many years now, has been optimizing for what we call zero-click search. That started with the whole featured snippets and position zero thing. It moved into having things like instant summaries of things. If you go and ask a celebrity's age in a certain year on Google, it's always been able to give you that answer very, very quickly, or at least for the last few years. But this has accelerated with AI overviews, where you type in your search query and the AI Gemini baked into Google search gives an instant answer that's perfectly detailed, derived from lots of different sources, so that you can have some degree of confidence that that's accurate. It's not always accurate, but it is reducing the number of people who feel the need to click on your search results. They never get to the search results, they just read that AI overview. And Google's new AI mode puts us at further risk. And this is if you are lucky. You might not even get people coming to Google in the first place, where there's a chance that you'll get that impression and have a chance of them choosing to click. They might just go straight to ChatGPT, or they might go straight to Claude, where they can get all of the information that they are seeking. They can get a comprehensive answer, and they can follow up with that answer in a conversation. So this is why, yes, you are showing up in search more often, great, but you are seeing far less in the way of clicks from it, which is why your AI traffic, so your website traffic, is not coming back. The core issue here, you've depended on your website traffic for many, many years, and it's always been relatively easy to ramp that up. Do some better SEO, do some really good paid search advertising, and you could turn a tap on for your traffic. But it's not really true anymore. But there is some good news that comes alongside this particular issue. Although your website traffic isn't coming back, the traffic that you have is much higher quality traffic than much of the traffic you've lost. And to quote Neil Patel, who is always quite quotable, you can say that AI traffic is money traffic, by which he means that the traffic that you get from AI sources is much more likely to both convert and then convert into a sale than other traffic. And in this chart, Neil Patel is making a case. He is showing on the bar portion of this chart, he is showing the amount of traffic that this website is gaining from AI traffic, and the line is showing the number of conversions. And while both are, broadly speaking, going up when you look at the trend line, the traffic is going up at a slower rate than the conversions are. So in other words, although we're getting slightly more in the way of traffic, we are getting much more in the way of conversions. So as you gain AI traffic, you should expect to get a disproportionate increase in your conversions. AI traffic is money traffic. And why might that be? Why is AI traffic so much more likely to convert and to become a sale? Well, that's because your AI traffic is your most qualified traffic. It's as if they've gone to someone that you feel you can deeply trust. And I think perhaps David Attenborough in the UK is the person that we are most likely to trust. It's as if he's gone on to TV and said, I'm going to recommend your brand for this type of work. Your AI traffic, the people using it, they have come from a platform they trust, giving them the recommendation. And I know we all perhaps shouldn't trust AI traffic. We know that it hallucinates. We know that it gives us some very dodgy answers, and we know that it's not always right. But somehow we do end up trusting it. And lots of research recently has shown that people trust their AI chatbots much more than they trust colleagues, friends, and even family. So that's why your AI traffic is particularly qualified. They've asked all of the questions they need to ask. They've asked follow-up questions based on what the AI chatbot has presented to them. And then once they've gotten to that stage, once they've got all those answers, then they come to your business and they convert. AI traffic is money traffic because it's your most qualified traffic. So while your website traffic is not coming back, that remains absolutely true. While your website traffic is not coming back, you can still get an excellent conversion rate by making the most of the traffic you do get from AI. And that essentially means, to my mind, an inversion of the last 15 years or so. In the last 15 years, your traffic and conversions cheat sheet has been that growing traffic was easy and increasing conversions was hard. That has flipped around in 2025. So now growing traffic is hard and increasing conversions is easy. I am, in all honesty, somewhat overstating that case, both for then and now. Perhaps easier and harder are more accurate statements. But broadly speaking, you're going to find that it's easier to increase conversions on your website now than it is to get traffic from Google search, organic search, than it has been in the past. So if all of this is true, if that's the problem. I promised you a problem and two solutions. I've given you the problem, and the problem is that your website traffic is not coming back. The solution is twofold. The first is that you need to go and generate more AI traffic. And the second is that you need to convert more of the AI traffic that you're getting. And so today, if there are two questions, how can you generate AI traffic and how can you convert AI traffic? Today, we are focused only on the latter of those two questions. How can you convert AI traffic? If what you need to focus on is generating more AI traffic, we probably both need to focus on both of those things. Then you can sign up for next week's webinar, which takes place at the same day and time, this time next week. So Tuesday, the 2nd of December at 11 a.m. So if you scan that QR code, there will be a link coming through in the chat from Amy, our head of marketing, and we will be following up with an email after the event. So if you want to generate more AI traffic, that's the place to be. But let's focus today on how can you convert more of your AI traffic. And these principles here, they will work for all of your traffic, but it will work especially well for your AI traffic because much more of your AI traffic is bottom of the funnel, is ready to convert for all the reasons we've looked at so far. So let's look at how we go about converting AI traffic. And the first thing that I need you to accept is that the lead magnet is dead. Long live the lead magnet. And I'm always very, very cautious when someone declares that something is dead. I've heard so many times that email marketing is dead. It's still got the highest ROI of any marketing channel. I've heard so many times that social media is dead. It's still a highly effective channel. But the lead magnet is dead. Long live the lead magnet. The lead magnets I want you to kill off are these ones. I'm sorry to tell you that nobody wants your one-page PDF checklist. Nobody wants it anymore. Maybe they never actually wanted it in the first place, but no one wants your one-page PDF checklist. If someone wants an in-depth answer to something, they will probably get better information from a conversation with ChatGPT than from your big white paper that you've got stored behind a landing page somewhere. And all the information in that ultimate guide that you spent months putting together is already available for free elsewhere. People no longer want to go through 2017's inbound marketing playbook of bring them to a landing page, fill in a form, get a PDF that stays on your hard drive. No one ever looks at it. No one ever cares about it anymore. This old form of inbound marketing is just not going to cut it anymore. So what is the lead magnet that is going to live an awful lot longer, and at least the next 5 years? It is a highly personalized lead magnet, one that is unique for each user in some way, shape or form, or at least aligns specifically with their personal interests. You may have heard me mention before that personalization in 2026 onwards, or 2025 onwards in all honesty, is a bit different to how it has been from 2022 prior. If prior to 2022, you were looking at having a certain number of segments and a certain number of people in your marketing database, you would have had far, far fewer segments that you market to. And by segment, I mean like a target portion of your contact database, specific profiles, maybe a persona, maybe an ICP. But you would have far fewer segments than you would have had people in your marketing database. So you might have had 5 segments and a marketing database of 200,000. But in 2025 and 2026 onwards, that is different. That is now going to be the case that if you've got 200,000 people in your marketing database, I'm sorry to tell you, you've actually got 200,000 segments. Because if you cannot personalize your marketing efforts at a one-to-one level, somebody else is going to, and that content is going to speak much more clearly to them than your generic segment-driven personalization strategy. Just wondering if we could pop a little Q&A into the chat, please, Amy. If we could pop a question in there to ask people how many segments do they have at the moment, and how many people do they have in their marketing database, and what challenges do they see with personalizing at a one-to-one scale. We'll take that, we'll look at those answers from you, those questions that we've got from you towards the end of the session, and then we will look at how we can address that together. But what does one-to-one personalization look like? And I imagine all of you have experienced this before. I imagine that this is not going to be your first time addressing a one-to-one seeing a one-to-one personalization strategy, because you're probably a Netflix customer. I've got on the screen here mine and my wife's Netflix feeds. So you can see mine on the left-hand side, and you can tell it's mine because it's either about Star Trek, or it's about chocolate, or it's an action flick, or it's about spying on people. So that's generally going to be my Netflix feed. Whereas my wife's on the right-hand side, pretty much only 2 things. It's either funny, or it's going to be about death and murder, as we in our household refer to it. So either science fiction and spy stuff, or it's going to be comedy and death and murder. But that's different for me and my wife when we log in. But equally, every one of you that's on this webinar, you've got a unique Netflix feed. No 2 people have an identical Netflix feed. That's because they've got a whole host of content, and they've got all the data in the world about you and your interests derived from your behaviors, your micro behaviors. Even if you just lingered over a thumbnail a bit longer than you lingered over another thumbnail, they know a bit more about you and how that makes you different to someone else on Netflix. And they can do a one-to-one personalization strategy with their Netflix algorithm. Then, how can you go about this? You're not Netflix. How can you start to handle a personalization strategy? Well, this is easier than it's ever been before. This is a much more straightforward process because of AI and how it enables you. But one example we could give you is our own one. I am going to put a QR code. There is an element of a shameless plug here. But for example, our spot check tool, spot dev, spot check, I thought that was really clever. Spot Dev, Spot Check. That is a service that has taken what we used to spend at least 1 week, sometimes 2 weeks, turning around a website audit for B2B companies. We'd spend all that time having a human doing it. We took our process, we took how we handle that, and we used our combination of our development skills, our expertise in the area to create an automated AI audit service that delivers a near identical quality result, perhaps in some ways a better result, that is a fully interactive audit of a website. So not only does it do all of the stuff that you can see on the screen here, which is your Google Lighthouse page speed insights type data, but it will automatically choose 10 pages of your website for a conversion rate optimization analysis as well. It will look at the text on the screen. It will look at all of the different things that your website could be doing in order to convert more traffic, which is obviously highly relevant to what we're talking about today. But at its core, it means that everyone gets a unique analysis for their business. So when you run this audit on your website, it's not just giving you standardized answers. The AI baked into it is giving you unique answers based on what you, for your business, could be doing. And in fact, if at the same time someone else in your company runs that analysis, they will see slightly different results, just in the same way that if 2 different humans audited your website with the same process, they would come to slightly different conclusions. This is a fully automated process. It doesn't just pull back from its memory. So this is how Spot Dev is personalizing on a one-to-one basis. But it's quite a big ask to get you to be thinking about how can you build a fully AI-powered interactive resource that is going to scan all sorts of pieces. The website that you, so the tool that we've pulled together here is very much leveraging our technical capabilities, but that doesn't mean that you need a firm like Spot Dev to pull together something similar to handle one-to-one personalization. I'll give you an example here. I want you to have a calculator. This is a great, straightforward way for you to start personalizing your website. So one of our clients, the wonderful folks over at Unily, who create intranets for companies, they have this lovely ROI calculator on their website where people plug in information such as their company's revenue, the number of employees, how many are frontline, all of this different information. They drag that along, and it then gives a clear graph of how much they are going to reduce cost by, how much they're going to improve labor productivity, and how many risks are going to be mitigated by signing up for their service, by implementing a great intranet like Unily. And they take it one step further here. You can even customize the colors of it, because they know by the point that someone is on their website, they are qualified traffic. They are interested in figuring out the return on investment from it. So they're quite bottom of the funnel. Why are they trying to figure out the ROI? They probably want to show it to their board, or at least their boss. They're probably trying to make an argument for why they should invest in this. So got this little color style control where they can change the hex codes of the colors that appear so it looks in your company's brand. So it doesn't look like you just went straight to someone's website and pulled off a standardized graphic. You're able to present the precise information as needed. And so it's a really great, compelling resource. And this sort of thing, ROI calculators, they're not new. They've been around for a long time. They're just much more straightforward to implement now than they had been in the past, thanks to AI tools in the first place, or AI-sped development, but also because there's an awful lot more examples around for you to draw from. We'll look at some more calculators in a moment, but I do want to flag, and this is a tool that has no affiliation with Spot Dev whatsoever, and in fact we don't use this tool, but I've seen it used very, very effectively. It's never been easier to create an interactive calculator. There's a platform popularized by Daniel Priestley called, well, from Daniel Priestley, called Score App, which allows you to very quickly spin up a calculator using a set of yes/no questions or Likert scale questions, whatever it might be. And you can even use AI to get that created very, very quickly indeed. So really, really powerful tool, actually. And it's taking the same approaches that we've used for years to help people build interactive assessments. I took this one relatively recently, and I must admit I just randomly answered questions like yes for this one, no for that one, etc. To evaluate my leadership skills. And it's given me a score of 63%. And as I could scroll down the page, I could see in-depth feedback customized to me based on my answering of a large number of questions, what I should expect. And again, it's not just a completely standardized response. It's very difficult because of the number of questions for me to get the same answer as someone else. So it's a great mechanism of personalizing your website is an interactive calculator. And a tool such as Score App can have you up and running in a very short space of time. Perhaps another Q&A, please, Amy. And if we can get that again sent out to folks ready for us to have a look at towards the end of the session. And that is, do you have calculators on your website? If not, what's holding you back? And then we'll see a few examples where we can look to address that as we go. Staying on the topic of calculators, I want to address the ultimate calculator. This is the one that makes the biggest difference, but I always see the firmest pushback on getting this calculator on your website. And I think it's a well-known challenge. And hopefully, if we have got folks on here who are marketing experts, you are keen to have this information out there. Maybe that pushback is coming in from your executive layer of the business. But that ultimate calculator is the pricing calculator. A pricing calculator is a wonderful tool to have on your website. You can ask a series of questions and people get to an answer that gives them a sense of what it would cost to do business with you. So first of all, let's be super clear. There's no two ways about this to my mind. Your pricing should be on your website. And no, you are not a special case. So many times when I recommend this to people, they tell me how they're a special case because their pricing is far too complex to put on the website. Or if we put our pricing on our website, then all of our competitors will find out what it is. Or if we put our pricing on our website, then we'll scare people away. So let's address those. If you put pricing on your website and it scares people away, excellent. I am delighted because that means that your sales team hasn't just wasted a whole load of time on discovery, demo, qualification, etc. We have gotten them away from your sales team, ready to focus on prospects who will actually buy. So scare those folks away, bring the people on board. I'll address that question. It's a great question there about set price, with products, etc. That addresses things slightly differently, but we'll come to that in a moment. If you are a company and you're worried about your competitors knowing your prices, well, stop worrying about it. They know your prices already. They may have secret shopped you. They may have taken one of your previous clients or customers away from you and they got that details of that quote, or during a competitive bid when they were choosing between firms and they for some reason were the advantaged opportunity during that sales process, the client or the prospect probably sent them your pricing and said, if you can match this or better this, then we'll go with you. Your competitors already know your pricing. So there's no reason why you shouldn't have your pricing on your website. And I'll just illustrate this a little bit more before I come to that question about what if you sell products with fixed prices. Imagine this scenario. User arrives on your website. You should be pleased with yourself. We spoke about your website traffic not coming back. You've done the impossible. You got someone onto your website. You should be celebrating that fact. Then the user identifies that the offer you've got matches their needs because your positioning was so good. Brilliant news. And then they think, oh, you know what? I would like to go and find the pricing for this offer. Let's see if this is a good fit to me. But your pricing is too bespoke, or it's too sophisticated, or it's too complex, or you're worried about your competitors seeing it, etc. So the user can't find it. So they leave your site because they couldn't find out what they needed to know. You put all that effort into getting people onto your website and you lost them because they couldn't get an answer to their question. So they're back onto their search results or back into their chat GPT, and they're asking more questions, and they're choosing the second best fit where they can find information about pricing. So they then visit your competitor's website where they're less of a fit, but the pricing was more visible. And then your competitor wins a sale that you handed to them. That's the scenario if your pricing isn't on your website. Whereas if your pricing is on your website, then that journey is identical right up until stage 3, where they find that pricing. They then understand your pricing model. They request a formal quote for you. So they've done the research. They know roughly what your pricing is. They request a formal quote, or they go through your checkout process. And then you win the sale because you were the person that they trusted. Going back to thinking in David Attenborough terms, they trusted you because you had all the information they needed. You win the sale, and they maybe never even looked at your competitor because you have taken them through that journey. So of these two scenarios, I know which one I would rather be at. I would rather risk that my competitors have a slightly better sense of my pricing than they do today because they already know it. I'd rather risk scaring off the people who are never going to buy than I would risk giving sales to my competitors because I wasn't the one who trusted my prospect enough to actually sell to them in the first place. And what if, let me just make sure I've read that question right, because I only just saw a brief note, and I'm going to answer most of the questions towards the end of the session. I seem to have lost the question. Is it in the Q&A section? Okay, I'm going to answer that question as I remember seeing it from the brief notification. If you're a product business, and you have fixed pricing, absolutely, you're at an advantage. You've already got your pricing on your website. Pricing calculators are kind of already baked into many product elements in the first place, where defining things like shipping, defining things like bundled discounts, volume discounts, etc., can all come into play. You are an advantaged player in that scenario because your pricing is already clearly there. But we do also see lots and lots of product-based companies with fixed pricing for products, hiding their pricing and waiting for quotes because they're worried that their competitors will see their pricing or that the pricing will scare them off. So if you don't necessarily have to have a pricing calculator, but you do need to have your pricing very clearly displayed. So the point I want to make is, on top of this is, I spoke about that sense of your user understands your pricing model because you've taught them what to expect. Your buyer understands that you still need to provide a quote. They're not the expert in your business. They've just used your calculator to get a rough sense of what something could cost. They haven't gone through all of the training your team has. They haven't got the expertise in your products and services to identify where actually this might be a better fit for you in this scenario and you might save some money. Or although this only costs £100 extra, you'll get all of these extra features in there in the first place. They understand that, because to quote Marcus Sheridan, at the start of the buying journey, someone has a question which is, roughly, how much will this cost? Once they've got to the end of the buying journey, that question has changed and it becomes exactly how much this will cost. So give people that roughly information. if you can make it as simple as just having your products listed, great. But many companies can't. A pricing calculator allows them to get a good sense of the range of pricing that they might need. And then towards the end, as they get to that process, they're going to lean on your sales team in order to get that clear answer. So if you take nothing else away from today, if the only thing you take away from today, it should be that the pricing calculator is the hill you should die on. It's an awfully dramatic phrase, isn't it? Yeah, a pricing calculator is the hill you should die on, by which I mean this is the argument to have with your senior executives. This is the argument to have with all of the people in sales who are saying, well, why would they come to us if they didn't have the quote? This is the line in the sand that any head of marketing, anyone looking to design a website should really be prepared to push forward on and to lay a very thin line on. Pricing calculators make such an immeasurable difference to the conversion rate on a website. Okay, so I have rattled on about pricing calculators and ROI calculators. The short message here is that an interactive resource that dispels questions that people have or myths that people have about your product and gives them much more concrete answers, that is hugely, hugely valuable to your audience and will have a dramatic impact on your conversion rate. So what else can we do to tackle the fact that your website traffic is going away and to convert more of your AI traffic into leads and customers? Well, the next thing you can do is to call out to your buyers with smart content. I want to stop for a moment and reflect on my social media marketing days when I was running social media for a number of organizations. And there was one in particular where I was running social media for a company that specialized in the education sector. And in particular, they were selling to teachers. We made a huge impact on the conversion rate in that business by making one small change to the opening line of, back then they were called tweets, of all the tweets that we were sending out. We changed nothing about the copy except for one thing. We just started that tweet with the word teachers, ! And then we carried on because we called out the buyer at the start. They instantly knew that that tweet was for them. And today, the same is true on your website. And using a call out that identifies your buyer so that they know that this is for them is a great way of improving your conversion rate. And smart content on your website is a wonderful vehicle for making this happen. I will use SpotDev's website as an example of this. So here is SpotDev's website as most of you will see it right now. So if you come to it and we don't know who you are, then the hero section of our website will say, solve your company's most complex HubSpot challenges. That's our core offer. We want to take on something really fancy and we want to solve it for your company. But if we do know who you are, if our CRM and a website are talking together perfectly and we've got absolute certainty about who it is on the page, our website is that little bit more intelligent and it will use smart content. And if you were from Coca-Cola, it would say, solve Coca-Cola's most complex HubSpot challenges. Or if you've come from, if you've come from Cognizant, solve Cognizant's most complex HubSpot challenges. So that you've got a really clear call out. It's the sort of thing that's just going to stop you in your tracks if that's your company. Hopefully it's not someone else's company that comes up there. There'll be something very wrong with our development work there. But essentially, if we've done things right, if we've built the system set up and we know who someone is, we can call out their company. I'd probably stop short of calling out their name. Solve Bob's most complex HubSpot challenges. Bob's going to be a little bit freaked out. So we'll focus on just calling out their company name at that point. It just makes it much easier to really say to people, this is for you. And there are other ways in which we can do it. If we know enough about the person that's on the website rather than just their company name, if we know their industry and we've got some data validating various bits as well, we can take that further. So for example, get HubSpot working for your marketing and sales teams is one of our H1s. We've got an option here where if we know everything about them, we can really call out their industry. So rather than creating a page for every industry, which we probably should still do, so it's good for your search traffic, good for your AI traffic. We'll talk about that in a follow-up session. But this conversion rate, they get to the page here, and then we want to personalize that further. Then we can flag here, get HubSpot working for your manufacturing business. I mean, I don't know about you, but if I'm on a page and it calls out what my business is doing, I am much more likely to convert. For my marketing sales team, everyone has a marketing and sales team. Are these folks doing it for manufacturing? Interesting. I'm going to go after them. I'm going to pursue them for a quote. It's a really strong technique for gaining additional conversions. It's a really strong technique for gaining further trust from your audience. I think I just saw a question pop up about that. Is this more viable if a website has accounts already linked to companies buying from them? Yes and no. I think the question you're asking there, I can't see who's asked a question, so forgive me. I think the question you're asking there is, if they've already bought from us, are we more likely to know who they are because maybe they've logged into a client portal? Yes, absolutely. That definitely works. But it works with strangers as well. There are all sorts of ways you can know who is on your website. So if at any point they have filled a form whilst using that device in the first place and they've accepted cookies on their website, then we know who that person is when they come back in future. So we can call that information out. If you sent a marketing email from your CRM and that is connected to your CMS, then we can start to deploy smart content there. So if someone has received a marketing email, they click a link, they arrive on your website, we know who it is because they click that link in your CRM and your CMS is connected. So we identify them and we can deploy smart content at that point. And that should work again, as long as I've accepted cookies, that should work for future visits as well. So you don't need to just be calling out to your existing market. But I would absolutely, if you've got any sort of logged in experience on your website, I would absolutely be looking to double down on that and think about how you can handle that for repeat business. It's also particularly great, if you're on the homepage of a website and you see something that says, oh, it's been 12 months since you bought those widgets and they only last 9 months. Best stock up again. Here's a link to the best offer for those widgets for you right now. In fact, this link takes you to a special page where it's at exactly the same price you bought in the past. All of that is feasible with smart content on your website. And it doesn't take an awful lot of engineering work on the right CMS. HubSpot's a great example. Other CMSs do apply. But this is a relatively straightforward piece of implementation work that you could tackle on your own website, perhaps even without engineering expertise. So I'm going to give you one more mechanism that you can use to address the declining traffic on your website and to convert more of that AI traffic in the first place. This one is on the relatively ambitious side of things, but it is entirely achievable. And that is to use SaaS as your lead magnet. The lead magnet is dead. Long live the lead magnet. You can use SaaS as your own lead magnet. What do I mean by SaaS? SaaS stands for software as a service, and that's essentially any online tool that typically you would pay a recurring fee for. And it's software. Microsoft Word is now SaaS. HubSpot is SaaS. All sorts of online tools count as SaaS. And the reason SaaS can work well as a lead magnet, and we'll talk about making this viable in a second because building a SaaS tool doesn't sound too straightforward. But the reason this is so interesting is that the SaaS industry is way ahead of the rest of us on this count, light years ahead of us, because they've been using freemium models for an awful long time. I've just picked out 6 random SaaS providers here, the first ones that came to my head, and every single one of them has some sort of start for free offer on their website. So you can sign up to, let's go with Cloudflare, for free, and you get a perfectly usable yet relatively limited offering from them. And then it's on Cloudflare to make sure that they are finding ways to engage you and to make you want to get to the point where you need to pay for more. And we've all been on that. Product activation is a really core part of the journey. But increasingly, we're seeing a trend of people treating a SaaS product in itself, something that in another company could be a product, and sometimes even monetizing it, but they're treating that SaaS product as a lead magnet. They have their own inbuilt mechanism for getting people onto their website, turning into customers of a SaaS platform. And just like with Score App, these things are easier to do than ever before. I've got here an example of Replit. Replit is a vibe coding platform. Before you launch anything like this, have an engineer check it from a security platform perspective. But either way, it's very easy to build a relatively straightforward SaaS product. And then people are in your ecosystem. You've got their contact details because they had to use their username and email address to sign up. You can see all the stuff they're doing. You can see that they're interacting with this tool and that they've used it twice a week, etc. How engaging and how useful is that to know that people who you've built a relevant tool for, and it can be something very simple, we'll look at some examples in a moment, that then gives you this great big pool of people that you can reach out to. How many more MQLs would you have if you had a very simple free SaaS product that allowed you to identify how well they're interacting with your tools and how clearly their problems align with what you solve? A tool like Replit, Lovable, etc., can be a great way of either building this entirely once the cybersecurity team have validated that it's sufficiently secure, or providing a rapid, simple prototype for you to hand to a design and development firm or your in-house design and development team to have a look at. It's a very, very new dawn for many, many companies where you can look to take on software as if it's just a lead magnet in your business. So much better than a PDF. Let's give you some examples of what that could look like. Just a few freemium ideas here. If you're an accountancy firm, have a tax estimator. Cover it in disclaimers. We're not, this is not a commitment. We're not saying this is definitely going to be your tax, etc. But based on what you've put in here, this would be a reasonable estimate for what your tax could be. If you're an architect, give them a tool where they can answer a series of questions and then it generates a Word document that is a decent planning application. If you're a marketing agency and you've got a specific way of pulling together campaigns, give them a tool where they can go and plan a campaign. Or perhaps more straightforward, use your briefing template that you have internally already and turn that into a simple SaaS tool so that people can create a brief ready to send to marketing agencies. And who's going to be the first one to receive it? There you go. Cybersecurity agency creates a phishing scam simulator. Send out an email that looks like it's from McDonald's, comes to mind for some reason. Maybe I'm hungry. It looks like it comes from McDonald's. They click the link, fill in a form. You would have fallen victim to this cybersecurity scam. What a great tool that people can use as part of their cybersecurity posture. Again, cover it in disclaimers. IT managed services provider, how many licenses do you need? HR consultancy, create a tool that allows them to prepare their annual review. If you're a safety advisor, an HR advisor, health and safety advisor, give them a tool to generate a risk assessment using a standardized template, but just asks the right questions at the right time. This is so much easier than it has been in the past. And it's something that you can viably generate an awful lot of buzz about, by creating something genuinely useful, you don't necessarily need to charge for, probably don't even charge for, because it's then baked into your customer acquisition costs, and you've then got so much rich data showing you who you can reach out to. So that's the last of the ideas we're going to look through in depth today. After the session, you will get a copy of all of these slides and the video of the session, and that will include our cheat sheet for what we believe is and isn't working in converting traffic for AI sources, and what we believe at this time is unproven. This is based on our experience and our experience and our own data, and it looks like this, where we are finding evidence that interactive calculators work, but PDF lead magnets don't. Gated content doesn't. On-gate all your content, much more about that next week. SaaS as lead magnets do. AI chatbots and chatbots, we think they definitely serve a purpose. They definitely do good things, but do they convert more traffic? I'm not actually 100% convinced about that based on the data we're seeing. We're seeing much more promising data from dynamic and progressive forms than we are from chatbots added to your website, because they've done their chatting in ChatGPT. But we'll see now. So we'll send this cheat sheet for you. And just to give you a sense of guidance, if it's in the unproven column, I'd still invest time in it. Spend 20% of your marketing activity working on that. But if it's in the works column, I would put 80% of your business as usual marketing activity into that area. So before we come to some of the questions that we've got, I've mentioned if you want to learn how to generate more AI traffic, this is the QR code for that webinar, which is 11 o'clock next Tuesday, and Amy will pop a link to that in the chat. Or if you would like to, press the fast forward button and go straight to great, then this is how Spot Dev can help your business. We'll build your website, we'll automate your business and set up your CRM, we'll handle your SEO and AEO strategy, or we'll build custom integrations. That QR code on the left will take you to a request a quote page. And on the right-hand side, if you're a marketing agency or a consultancy or any sort of agency without in-house expertise or without HubSpot expertise, you can scan this QR code. You can become a Spot Dev partner, where we have a lead referral fee that we pay for any work that we either co-deliver with you or any leads that you send in our direction. So 2 different opportunities for you if you choose to work with us there. But let's boldly go to have a look at the Q&A section. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. There we go. Let's have a look at what we've had come through in the meantime. So, do you have calculators on your website? If not, why not? I've got an answer here from Gemma, who says, no, we are service-led, and every product/mix/service is different. We are looking to add an ideal product finder using how many people on site, fresh milk or powdered, etc. Okay, I think that's quite interesting. The product finder, I think, is a great idea. I definitely think you should do that. The product mix service is different, etc. How do you price it? How do your humans go about pricing it? So I would certainly be thinking about that. It can't be beyond the realms of possibility to go get something automated into that process. I appreciate that every product mix/service is different, but how does it differ? That's a set of rules that perhaps you're subconsciously addressing at the moment. Let's have a look what we've got elsewhere. I've got a few without names. I'll scan through a few of these. Yes, there'll be recordings. Everyone will get recordings from today's session, and everyone will get recordings if you sign up to next week's session. Whether you attend or not, you will still get a recording. Please do attend. It's nice for us to have people here. Do you have an estimate in the uplift in conversion of having a pricing calculator versus not? This is very variable, and I don't want to fall into the trap of saying, well, it depends, but it depends. So it used to be the case that people considered a good converting website to be around about 2%, a good converting landing page to be about 8%, and then we saw some landing pages up at like the 20 to 40 to even sometimes 60% rate. But the uplift from a pricing calculator does depend on other factors on the site as well, how you're using the pricing calculator, when you're bringing it into the journey, etc. But I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a 10 to 20% increase in conversions early on. We've certainly seen that and better from pricing calculators that we've helped to implement in the past. Can you put QR code links in chat, please? Amy, please get all the links that we've had there. So the webinar one, the request a quote one, and the partner page links, let's have those in the chat. And Amy, can we make sure in the follow-up email that they go out as well? I've got a not yet. Are you using personalization on your website through smart content? Not yet. I love the ambition implied in that. We haven't done it. We're going to. We addressed that question already. We don't currently display our prices either, so there'll be something new for us to consider. Yes, but don't consider it. Do it. Make the argument. Get it over the line. Someone's got an ROI calculator similar to Unilever's. I love that. Yes, someone else has an ROI calculator. Fabulous. Someone's Otter plan only recorded the first half hour, so hopefully they were here for the rest of it. We've answered the question about physical products. I think we've got a few more coming in. Okay. I think we will. Oh, how could you show smart content for a subscription business where ideally the user will attend the website just once? I don't know if I would want them to attend the website just once because they're already on your site several times before they subscribe. So you want to get them the first time on their website, you want to figure out who they are. The second time, you want to give them a bit more personalization because it feels like people come out of the blue, they sign up and off they go. But typically, they're going to be looking at 7 to 20 touch points before they actually convert. So I doubt that they're just coming to the website once. Equally, once they're subscribed, I would be hoping that there's some sort of upsell mechanism conceived within the business that allows you to upgrade them. I'd want to get them back to the website and then see things like, thank you very much for coming back, Bob. I know you loved your widget, but did you know that Widget Plus Pro could get you even more widgetiness? So there's definitely some offering there. Someone is thanking Amy. Okay, I think, folks, we are going to have to call it a that. We've got 3 minutes left. I know that we are sending out the recording of this. Once Teams has had a chance to do its processing stuff, you'll get a copy of the recording. You'll get a copy of the slides. The email will come out with all of the links that we've got in here. And I strongly encourage you to attend next week when we'll be looking at that first of those solutions, which is how can you generate more traffic from AI? How can you get more people to arrive on your website by appearing in AI chatbots, appearing in AI overviews much more often than you do at the moment, and in the right context so that when people do come, they still remain highly qualified. So I'm going to say thank you very much indeed, everyone, for joining us on this session. I'm looking forward to seeing how you all go on to convert more traffic than you have done in the past, and have a fabulous rest of your Tuesdays. Thank you very much.